All right. Hey, everyone. Mark here. Mark P Markets. Thank you for joining me for another Bitcoin video session here. My camera is not on today again because I'm still working out my background situation because I've moved and I have no blue screen behind me, but I want to make sure at least there's, my camera situation is just not, I'm not happy with it yet. So next week I should have it back on, but it's okay. You don't need to see my pretty face anyway. What you do need to see are the charts, right? So with that said, if you're new, welcome. Let me explain to you how this works. Hopefully you guys can hear my microphone. If you hear me, just put a quick yes in the channel as I'm explaining how the stream works. All right, so first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the economic calendar like I do every week because you want to be aware of events that can cause a range expansion and you don't want to get caught in the middle of that. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about these Bitcoin charts, and we're going to talk about how to navigate the price action up to 95K. There's a specific reason why I mentioned that. So we'll talk about that because it's very important in this environment if you're trying to make any kind of money. And then we're going to use the Trade Scanner Pro and see what kind of trade ideas we can work with real-time data. As we're getting real-time chart information and seeing how we can put a trade idea together. I demonstrate that each week so that you guys can use the Trade Scanner Pro and get some benefit out of it. Now, we are always working on improvements, and one of the next improvements I want to do is I want to make it I want to give it more forecasting ability than it has now, and I have some ideas for that. Of course, I have to talk to Stian about that. But right now, the Trade Scanner Pro requires that you bring your own idea and then it confirms the idea. I thought this would be a great thing for beginners, but obviously not. Okay, beginners still don't know what to do. So I demonstrate it each week on the stream, but it needs to be simpler than that. All right. So anyway, this is what happens when you get feedback from customers. All right, you find out what they really want and what they don't want. Anyway. So we'll get in there with that. But right now, we'll talk about the Trade Scanner Pro and all that stuff as we go along with the stream here. Okay. So otherwise, if you want to share what city or what country you're from, it's always a fun fact. I am streaming from the greater New York City area. I have relocated. I'm just a little closer to the city. That's all. All right. So anyway, all right. So let's get this thing started, shall we? Let me pull up my special slide. All right, so this is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. If you don't know what you're doing, or if you're new, I highly recommend working on paper, paper trade, because especially with Bitcoin and the altcoins, with all the wildness going on, yes, you can make money, but you can also get hammered. This thing is moving. I mean, if you look at today's range, just on a 15-minute chart, which you could see on the right-hand side here, that's a 2,000-point range over basically an hour or 2-hour period. Like, that's kind of nuts. All right, that's definitely unusual, and that's a result of the situation that we're in. And it's great opportunity for day traders. But for swing trade and investing, the risk is extremely high. All right, so we're going to talk about that. Let's move along here. I want to get to the economic calendar. So before I get to the calendar, I just want to mention there are links in the description that I'd like to point out very quickly. First, there's a 14-day free trial available for the Trade Scanner Pro. It's the first link in the description. I suggest you click on that if you want to know more information. If you want to join the Discord community, there's a link for that as well. I will be more active in the community soon. Third, if you are interested in receiving trade ideas from the Trade Scanner concept, or the bot that we have each day. New trades come out each day. You could sign up for the email list and receive a trade idea each day. Now, again, we're going to be making some changes to that as well. But if you want to get involved in that now, it doesn't cost you anything. And you get a nice email with a chart on it, with the signal on it, and all the information. And you can paper trade that and see how you like that. Okay, next. If you're interested in TradingView, there's a link in the description for that. It's an affiliate link. It belongs to Stian. It helps him out immensely if you're going to sign up for TradingView and you use his affiliate link because he gets a small cut. You don't need the premium version of TradingView to use the Trade Scanner Pro, but there are some benefits to it. we'll talk about that when we get to the Trade Scanner Pro. Also, if you're interested in other exchanges like MEXC or Bybit, and you're a non-US resident, you can also sign up through those affiliate links there as well. It helps Stian out if you fund an account and place trades. And then if you just want to donate, it's that time of year. There are some wallet addresses that you can also donate to as well. Those go to Stian, all right, because he does a lot of work, and it's nice for people to help out. Anyway, all right, so let's get into the economic calendar. I'm not showing it on my screen. Let me just go over it really quickly. All right, so there's not a lot of heavy stuff this week. I saw we had President Lagarde from the ECB speaking. I saw tomorrow we have the CPI from Canada. All right, the Bank of Canada or whoever reports the CPI in Canada. It's an inflationary number. Not a big deal. All right, it's not a major market mover. We have some CPIs. I believe the European, I think it's the ECB is having their CPI on Wednesday, or I'm sorry, the British pound is having their CPI on Wednesday. On Thursday, we have the US S&P Global Services PMI, something like that. Not a major number, okay? It's not a major market moving number. And then Friday I saw, and throughout this I saw some speeches from some Fed governors around the world, right? I believe the Swiss National Bank. I saw another one from President Lagarde. There's a few of those. Again, those are going to be more important if you trade Forex. Not, it's in those specific Forex pairs, like the British pound, the CAD, any CAD crosses, anything like that, then you want to pay more attention to that news. If you don't trade those pairs, then you're not going to see much of an effect. All right. Those aren't major dollar moving pieces of information, like something like the US CPI or something like an FOMC meeting or Chairman Powell's speech. Like those move the dollar and the bond market, and that moves everything else. Right. So we want to pay attention to those. I have not seen any of those this week. All right. So I would say it's a generally lower profile week. Let's call it that. All right. That's the economic calendar. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, let's move on to the next thing here. All right, guys. Hey, so I see Giovanni. I see Eduardo. It's good to see you. Stian, of course. James, Nerf. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining me today. All right, now let's talk about this Bitcoin situation, shall we? I'm going to expand this chart first here. Okay, this is my daily chart. This is the chart that I published on Saturday for TradingView. Now, on that analysis, which wasn't well received from what I understand, I was pointing out this scenario here. Okay, hey, Monica. Savi, how are you? Hey, Savi, I was waiting for you. I had to say something. This Wednesday, the Bloomberg is hosting a CMT event. It's about they're celebrating the 20-year anniversary of the CMT being recognized by FINRA, something like that. And it's at the Bloomberg offices in Midtown or whatever. I'm going to be there. All right. I'm going there. And if you're interested, it's open to anyone and it's free. So if you want to meet up, I'll be at Bloomberg. I'll send you the email with that information. Anyone in the New York area. I know, Savvy, you're in the New York area, so maybe you're interested. It's at 5 p.m. I believe the event starts or something like that. But anyone is welcome to go. You just have to register through their list. They have like a list. You have to make sure you're on it. And anyway, I'm going to be there on Wednesday. All right. So I just wanted to talk to a fellow New Yorker. All right. Anyway, if you're interested, let me know. I'll send you the email with the link to it. And you can register. All right. So back to the chart here. So like I was saying, this wasn't very well received. Okay. Yeah. If you want me, if you can't make it, it's no problem. But if you want me, I figure, my New York people, they want to meet up with me or something, I'll be at that event. So if you want me to send it to you, if not, if you can't make it, it's okay. I won't send it to you. Okay. I'll send it to you. All right. It's just a simple, you just sign up for their list and then whatever. It's at the Bloomberg location. All right, cool. Be nice to meet you. All right. So, and anyone else in New York, if you're in New York and you want, just send me an email, marketmarkpmarkets, and I'll send it to you. Again, it's free. And they said in the email, it said invite colleagues and friends. All right. So I'm inviting Savi. All right. Yeah, I know, Kai. It's no problem. Yeah, it's in New York. But anyway, if I do something global, I'll let you know. All right. So back to this chart here. Yeah. So in my analysis, I talked about a pullback to 85K, right? And what I was saying in that email, because again, don't get me wrong, people misconstrue or they misunderstand what I say. Maybe it's a language barrier thing. I don't know. But I am not bearish on Bitcoin. It's clearly bullish. But what I'm focusing on is the risk. Okay. Can Bitcoin go to 100K? Yes, it's within range, right? But you have to look at the probabilities of what is likely to happen first. And based on the location and based on the move here, I believe that there's a greater chance or a slightly greater chance we pull back first. Now, do we pull back to this area just because I think it wants to pull back there? I don't know. The market decides that, not me. I draw this illustration on the chart to provide some kind of point of reference. So as a swing trader, you're saying, oh, okay, I got an area. I have a range of prices, this rectangle here, a range of prices to anticipate if the market gets there. The market may not get there. Okay. All it takes is some news to drive this thing. Any little catalyst comes out. I want to point out another thing, because again, I get some criticism about when I criticize fake gurus, people that were calling Bitcoin 100K 6 months ago, or a year ago, now they look like geniuses. Here's something to keep in mind. There's no way 6 months ago or a year ago, there was no way to know how the presidential election was going to play out. There was no way to know who was running, right? There was no way to know that Harris was going to be the Democratic nominee. There was no way to know that a year ago. In fact, no one was even talking about her a year ago, right? So no one foresaw any of that. It's just coincidence that it happened to all work out that way, and Bitcoin benefited, right? And on that same argument, some negative catalyst can come along the same way and pull this thing back, even though it's still strong. Okay, so that's like the main point that I'm trying to make. There's no way to foresee these things. Now, we can look at what's within reason, and that's what I do. I want to know what's within reason. What's something where I can basically assign a probability to, a scenario that's likely to happen in the near future, maybe the next week, maybe the next 2 weeks. And then once I kind of figure out what that scenario is, right? I isolate a scenario. The next thing that I do is I ask, well, what is the risk? And am I willing to take that risk? And right now, the way I see it, taking longs up in this area, even though this thing can pop to 100K, it's possible. I mean, look at this candle right now. But like I said, the price action inside these candles is wild. It can pop up there, but are you willing to take 10,000 points of risk? That is the question, because if this thing breaks these supports, you have a new minor support right here. What is that? Like around 90? What is that? 89? What is that number? 88.6, right? So we could say 88.5. There's some support around 87, right? This area right here, there's clearly some support there, but those are minor supports. And those levels, right? So we'll say 87 and we'll say 88.5 or 89.5. Well, we'll say 87 and what was that number again? I think it was 80, 89, 88. We'll say 88.5. It doesn't have to be precise. So 87 even and 88.5, those are going to be supports that can be very helpful on smaller time frames. So if you're on a 5-minute chart, you're on a 15-minute chart, and you're touching one of those levels, that can be meaningful, and you can anticipate a certain type of behavior there. But the market must confirm. You can't go into this thinking, oh, I know what's going to happen next. You don't know what's going to happen next. No one knows unless you have inside information. Then you can say you know. But if you don't have inside information, then you don't know. You're guessing like everyone else, okay? And you have no advantage. So you need to wait for the market to confirm something. Right now, it's confirming a buy signal by taking out this little spinning top situation. It took out the previous day's high. I would consider that a buy signal. So when I saw that earlier, I was like, okay, this thing may want to go for 95K because it's trying, all right? Doesn't mean that it will, but it's trying. And I want to talk about how to navigate that. But just going back on recapping my analysis, we had this little bearish situation right here where it took out the inside bar low, but it never followed through. So what do you do in these situations? Number one, you have to have some sort of like the scenario, which is what I try to provide, but then you have to have a plan on top of that. So like you say, okay, I want a swing trade. Okay, that's part of the plan. But then you need to wait for a level if you want to take a lower risk. But only you can decide the risk. If you don't care about risk, yeah, who cares? Buy it now. Okay, but understand that the risk that you're facing, the potential that this thing can pull back, I believe is greater than 50%. And a reasonable pullback range is 80K, 82K, 83K, 85K. That's very reasonable, right? That's this area right here, which is basically around your 50% retracement of this entire move, right? Like if you measure this move, if you do this, okay, you take the retracement tool and you do this, that rectangle is basically, it's the 382 and the 618, right? And between those two is 50%. So that's a retracement zone, I like to call them. And that's where it can reasonably retrace, followed by some sort of reversal or buying confirmation. And that would be ideal in terms of risk and reward for swing trade longs. Okay. That may not happen right away. We may touch 95K first. So I want to explain that like that in detail so that you understand when I write those analyses what I'm actually trying to say. Because again, it just seems to not be understood by everyone. Now, if you get the buy signal in such a situation, this level where it is now basically, or the low 90s would be your profit objective. Now, can it go higher than that? Yes, but we're interested in a high probability profit objective. If you're going to sit there and say, well, it's going to go to 100K, it might, but the more you expect, the lower of a chance you're dealing with, right? And people like to gamble, I understand. People like outliers, I understand. But that's not a good way to play this game because, you may win on an outlier, but then you keep trying that over and over again, and you will lose over time. It's just like how you play poker. It's very similar, all right? Poker is, if you want to learn how to trade, learn how to play poker. All right. Okay. So, all right. So anyway, so that's my bigger picture analysis. You guys understand that? So right now at this moment, this I guess you could say pullback scenario that I'm anticipating is not happening. It's not that we're not getting any confirmation. We're not getting any follow through. It can still happen. This candle may close weak. I mean, who knows? It looked weak earlier and it came back. But right now, the current daily candle has taken out the previous daily candle's high, and that constitutes a buy signal typically, right? So there is bullish momentum in this thing. And if you want to take an aggressive swing trade long, this is it. But your stop on something like that, your minimum stop, like the tightest reasonable stop would have to be here. Okay. So you're looking at what is that? Like 2,000 points, or no, if you're buying it now at 91. So basically, let's just round that to 92. And then you're looking at a stop around 88. So you're looking at 4,000 points of reasonable risk. And it can do that in 2 seconds. I mean, this thing is moving 2,000 points in like 2 hours. So if you're okay with taking that magnitude of risk, that's up to you. But that's not something I'm interested in. Okay. So then what do? Now, if you suffer from the fear of missing out, please don't suffer from that. Don't be affected by that. Yes, we missed out a lot of this because, this was a result of the election and it happened very quickly. Okay. But it could have gone the other way. So whatever. The point is now, how do you trade? Where are the opportunities here? This is where I'm a big believer in the day trade time frame, because the advantage to that is you don't expose yourself to this large magnitude of risk. As a day trader, you're naturally going to be using much tighter stops. You're not going to be taking 3,000 points of risk or 10,000 points of risk, or you should not be, because that's not a day trade then, right? So when we go to smaller time frames, that's really where the opportunity is, in my opinion. So before I even get to the Trade Scanner Pro, let's just talk about this 15-minute chart. This is a 15-minute Bitcoin, right? This is the futures chart. Look at the price action. Look at this. These movements are enormous. I mean, look at this low to this high. What is that? 3,200 points. Okay, on a 15-minute chart. Let's just go to an hourly just to say, well, how long? What is the amount of time? Also, notice the consolidation, right? Just notice this general consolidation. Look at this, right? A consolidation in a strong bullish trend is likely to break out higher. That's why I say, 95K is very possible before this thing has a more serious pullback, number one. Number two, as a day trader, you're really not as concerned with the bigger picture anymore anyway. You're only interested in smaller time frame structures as your guide because you're looking for smaller profit objectives. You're not sitting here looking for 100K on this time frame, right? Now, if you are, you're out of range, like you're being unreasonable with the market. Now, in terms of the risk. Now, a structure like this has some nice levels. But the point that I want to make, though, before I get to the levels is this. Look at these ranges, right? This is an hourly. Let me measure this again. So the thing rallied, all right, 3,600 points. Okay, this is an hourly chart. Wait, how many bars was that? In 10 bars. That's 10 hours. It ran 3,600 points in 10 hours. That's less than a day. Then it pulled back. 2,800 points in 7 hours. That's almost 3,000 points in 7 hours. And then it rallied back in an even shorter period of time, right? 3 hours, it ran 3,200 points. So that is wild and unusual. So when you have that type of movement, day trade is going to be where all the lower risk, higher reward possibilities are going to be. But you have to know what you're doing. Because if you don't know what you're doing, or you get caught up in some idea or some nonsense, you're going to get caught in something like this, right? A 3,000 point pullback, and but this thing's going to 100K, and you're going to bang it out right here. Okay, on this candle, you're going to bang it out. Or you may, if you take a position too big, you're going to get forced out, and then you're going to watch it do this, right? So you have to know what you're doing. If you're not experienced, meaning you only have a year or less of experience, maybe a few months, paper trade. Don't trade this for real. Get the experience first, because I'm telling you, you will lose money. You will lose a lot of money trying to navigate this. All right, because you don't understand certain things yet. You're still grasping at feelings and intuition, and you're reacting to what you see. You're going to make all those beginner mistakes. If you're going to do it, don't do it here. People may show glamorous things like, oh, I'm making $1,000 a minute. Look at this, right? And you're going to be like, oh, I can do that too. No, you can't. And they're most likely lying. But you have to understand that you need some experience to navigate this, right? And I hope to teach people. Hey, Isaac, I hope to show people and illustrate to people what it takes to navigate this, right? Now, if you have a little more experience, a year or more, then you may be okay in this. You just can't get stuck on ideas. You have to be very flexible because, again, this thing can sell off 5,000 points for no reason, just because, whatever, right? So don't be searching for reasons. Just accept price action for what it is. Now, So that my point here is, how do we navigate this, right? That's what I want to get to. Well, I always talk about the two components. All of you guys are my regulars, so you know what I'm talking about with that, right? Price structure, which is also known as trend, and support and resistance levels. Those are the only two components you need to make adequate decisions. I say it every week. It's amazing to me how people still struggle, even though, and when I ask them, so what are you looking at? Oh, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that, I'm looking at this. I'm like, no wonder. All right, you're never going to get anywhere. Hey, from Argentina. All right, welcome. You're never going to get anywhere if you're making things overcomplicated, especially on the day trade time frame. Things need to be extremely simple in order to make decisions in an efficient way. All right, now, so just to talk about simple, we're looking at this hourly range, right? We know that the general trend is bullish, so we don't even have to look at that. The general trend is bullish, even when it does stuff like this. This is not a bearish trend. It is just bearish price action. It's just bearish momentum. The general trend is bullish, okay? And just look back a bit, higher lows and higher highs, and then it just kind of keeps developing higher lows, right? And even though it's not exactly producing higher highs just yet, this is the highest point over here in this range. This is not bearish. It's just a consolidation. So you're just looking for these support levels. And now, as you can see, at the moment, we are not at a major support level, which would be like in this area here. We're not there, are we? We're also not at any type of resistance, right? The first resistance, if we're really going to talk about resistance, looking back here a bit, all right, we kind of rejected this on this 15-minute candle. We rejected that. And then beyond that, we just have like this price action up in this area here. If we're really going to be more granular about it, those are our day trade levels. So you're just waiting. And since we know that the trend is bullish and it's not bearish, then that tells us, that gives us some sort of guide on how we should treat these levels. In a bullish trend, supports typically hold and resistances typically break. And in a bearish trend, you have the opposite, right? So we don't have to talk about bearish trend here because we don't have that. We have a bullish trend. So supports should hold, resistances should break. With that alone, that tells me one thing. I should only be looking to buy supports. I should not be shorting resistance levels. Or if I do, it's a low probability. Buying a support should be a greater probability because the trend is bullish until the trend changes. Now, I'm not trying to forecast when the trend will change. All I'm accepting it for what it is right now. It's bullish until it's no longer bullish. But right now, it is. So supports should give me a greater probability. They should hold. And if I see some type of confirmation there, that's going to be a higher probability trade. That is how you navigate this environment. But you get people that, I'm going to short this. Okay, you can try, and yeah, sure, there's some movements here, but you're going to have to be good because the point is this: it looks great after the fact, but you may short the one time you get the massive breakout, right? And you have to. The whole point of when you're going to be aggressive like that, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I encourage that, but you have to recognize when you're wrong very quickly. Because, you could sit there and you could try putting a stop, you get stopped out, and you try again, you get stopped out, and then you get frustrated, and then you're like, all right, forget the stop. I'm just going to hold on to this thing. And that's when you get caught, right? So if you want to play probabilities, you don't play the short game here, right? That's an aggressive thing. It's an aggressive thing to do, and you have to be quick on your decision making, and you can't expect much on the side of a profit objective. That's the other thing. You have to have very low expectations. Now, again, you could sit here and say, well, but if I shorted this, I would have made 3,000 points. You can't assume that just because you know after the fact that it moved 3,000 points. But if you short something like this and you're able to get away with 200 or 300 points, okay, that's very reasonable because there was 3,000 point move. 200 or 300 points is a small percentage of that, and it's within reason, right? So same with this movement here. Okay, what was this movement again? I think this was a 2,000 point movement from top to bottom. Oh, it's a 3,000 point movement. So again, if you're grabbing 200 or 300 points, That's within reason. You're keeping your expectations on the opposite side low. You're on a small time frame. Now, we're looking at the hourly chart here to get our levels. But when you're taking these trades, they're not happening on an hourly chart typically. They're happening on a 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute chart, okay? Maybe a 15-minute chart. But that's where you're taking those trades because why? The risk on those time frames is going to be proportionally smaller. And that's the idea, is to keep the risk proportionally small while capturing a larger move relative to your risk. That's the general formula. And that's what the Trade Scanner Pro, I mean, that's the idea behind that as well. Okay. So, we got some Argentina people here. Maybe I'm getting popular in Argentina all of a sudden. I used to be Romania, but maybe it's Argentina now. I don't know. That's cool. Yeah, I know Tango. All right. So let's, so you guys following me in on this? Now, a lot of this relates to the Trade Scanner Pro stuff that I'm going to get into, but I really wanted to emphasize, what do you do in this situation? Like, you missed, maybe many of you missed a huge move, right? Maybe you've invested at great prices. Maybe you're in from 50K. Maybe you're in from 60K. You realize 50K was touched 3 times over the previous year. Understand something about those great opportunities. They're rare. 3 times 50K was touched, right? So you had some investment opportunities. In fact, many of you remember who follow me on the streams, I talked about that at those times, investing opportunities. I don't talk about investing opportunities often because there aren't that many in Bitcoin. Like, why would you invest at 90K? Why would you go all in now? Because it's going to go to 1 million tomorrow. If you're going to do that, again, these are high risk prices for investing. You buy small, you invest small. When you get the pullback, you invest more. You don't go with $5,000 at the top here, right? Even if it runs up a few more points to 95K, or even if it goes to 100K, the risk you're taking is much greater than what you can make, right? That's why it's just not worth it. That's how I see it. It's just not worth it to take a large position. You want to average in, and if you're going to start investing, you take tiny bites at these levels because the probability of the pullback is greater, right? So why would you want to take more size at higher risk levels, right? That's the mentality that you have to have when it comes to investing. I know I'm jumping around here. You guys following me so far? All right. So again, if you missed out, learn to day trade this because there's a lot of opportunity here. It's not just take the time. If you're new, just take some time, do it on paper. Okay. Don't worry. If you're desperate to make money, this is the wrong game for you. There are many easier ways to make money than this game. I'm telling you right now. There's going to be, I've seen on YouTube countless commercials. They're all coming out, pushing their software, pushing their training, pushing their come to my chat room and trade with me nonsense. I mean, they're all coming out looking for the retail traders to jump back in and pay them. Okay. They're all coming out with their nonsense now because of these amazing moves, right? Don't get sucked into that. You're not going to miss out on anything. Bitcoin, whether it goes to 100K from here or pulls back, doesn't really matter. What matters is that you're learning how to capitalize on opportunities because there are many opportunities. But if you want more opportunities, you work on smaller time frames. If you want broader opportunities, you have to be patient. You have no choice. Or actually, you do have a choice. You take bigger risk. Okay, so if you don't mind risking half of your money, you can get in at any price. Okay, so hey, no problem, Alex. Good to see you from Romania. See, Alex is one of my original Romanians. When I used to be famous in Romania, he was one of the first guys to support me, and he's still here. It's Alex. He's one of the moderators in the community. Okay, so you guys following me so far on this? I want to make sure that you're prepared because I mean, look what's happening right now. You know, we rejected this resistance. This thing is wild. I mean, like I've been looking at this on a 1 minute chart over these days, and man, like within less than 5 minutes, you could be up 500 points in less than 5 minutes on these futures contracts. Like, it's wild. And it's great if you know what you're doing. Okay. So any questions about this? I want to get into the Trade Scanner Pro because it really helps with what I'm talking about. But the main concept here is you're using support and resistance levels on smaller time frames. You're starting with like an hourly with the goal of taking trades like on your 1 minute chart or your 5 minute chart. Or if you're a beginner, try working with a 15-minute chart. If we go to a 15-minute, right, I have all my levels on here. And, you know, at least these lines represent the smaller time frame levels. They have nothing to do with the bigger picture. I know that my bigger picture is bullish, but I have my support and resistance on my smaller time frames. And from here, I can anticipate behavior. Price action is nothing more than people's votes with their money. So it's a reflection of behavior. What repeats itself in the market is people's behavior. Large groups of people behave the same way. It's the herd mentality. So what we're looking for is repetitive patterns of behavior. And when you see some sort of pattern developing again or repeating, you can define your risk and you can define a profit objective based on the typical outcome of that type of pattern. That's really what being a day trader is about, I'd say, for the most part, when it comes to strategy. Okay, so so just to recap real quick, the big picture. Let's go to that big picture chart. Right, the big picture, it's about defining your risk, right? Knowing your levels in terms of risk. And we are at high risk levels when it comes to big picture type of trades, swing trades and investing, high risk levels. There's never a bad level to invest, but you don't want to invest big at these levels. And I'll always say that at highs. I will always say that at highs. And when we push some kind of low, I will always talk about buying, you know, if it's an investment opportunity, that's when you'll hear that. And it's rare. Okay. People get frustrated with the stuff that I say because they want me to say, ooh, go all in now because it's going to 1 million. They want me to say that, but I'm not saying it. Okay. And that's why I don't have much of a following, because I don't tell people what they want to hear. I talk about the reality of the market, and people want to be lied to. People love dreams. They love to think they're going to be rich next month by following some nonsense random strategy. That is how this business works. And all these people out there that push all these channels, you know, I get criticized for criticizing fake gurus, but that's how the business works. Okay. They depend on eyeballs, and that's how they make money. So they'll tell you whatever you want to hear. Okay. There's a couple of guys out there that are decent, and their followings are usually smaller. Okay. Especially when they get into complex stuff. All right. Anyway, I'm not going to rant on that for long. Let's talk about, so again, bigger picture, high risk. So when you're in a high risk situation in the bigger picture, you resort to the smaller time frame and you look for your levels, and then you work on the side of the trend. The side of the trend is bullish right now. So that means you're looking to work at support levels. That's going to give you the greatest probability, and you're going to define your risk from there. Now, you have to do all that on your own. Unless, of course, you have the Trade Scanner Pro, right? That's a very valuable tool, especially for these situations. So let's get into that a bit, shall we? If you understand now, unless I don't see any questions. All right. So let's talk about the Trade Scanner Pro and how it's relevant to this situation. Now, first, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this chart. Right? This is a Coinbase chart. So I'm going to change this to the Bitcoin perpetual futures chart, the same one that I have on the other side here. Let's see, where is it? I like to use MEXC, okay, because that's the exchange that Steen is an affiliate for. You can see all those horizontal lines on my chart that I drew from, you know, this 15-minute chart over here, right? Those lines, they can be relevant on the bigger picture, but those lines were meant for the smaller picture, okay? Bigger picture support and resistance levels are going to be larger magnitude levels, like I pointed out before, in this area over here, in the midpoint area, right? That's going to be larger magnitude. These levels up here are really more for day trades, smaller time frame activity, or like a swing trade, perhaps on a 4-hour chart, right? Some of these levels are going to be relevant on a 4-hour chart, but this is a daily chart. Let's change this to an hourly, okay? And then this chart over here on the right, I'm going to change that to a 1 minute, okay? I'm also, as you can see, the Trade Scanner Pro is active right now, but before we can even talk about that, I'm not going to take any trades. In fact, I'm going to turn this off, right? Because I want to talk about how this works and what the story is here, okay? So let's move this out of the way and let's make this clear. So the Trade Scanner Pro, I talk about this, and by the way, I am going to be making training videos that are available to the free users. I'm going to be making like a small series of training videos that explains what I'm about to explain right now, but they'll be short videos and all that kind of stuff, much more convenient to watch than going through a live stream trying to find this part, okay? So here's how the Trade Scanner Pro works. So the Trade Scanner Pro is based on the concept that I use to day trade and swing trade markets. And we have a bot that Stian built that uses this concept. And then we took the concept of the bot and we made it into a script that could run on TradingView. So this is what it does. The Trade Scanner Pro works in 3 steps. It is a trend following momentum reversal system. So trend following means the first step is it identifies a trend, bullish or bearish. And then it looks for a pullback in that trend. So you could say basically it's a pullback tool, right? It looks for the pullback of the trend. Once it defines that pullback, it has criteria that it's looking for to find the momentum reversal, meaning trend is bullish, the momentum turned bearish, and then it turns bullish again, right? And that's when it will give you a signal in the form of trade suggestions, order suggestions, right? Which look like these horizontal lines. You have the stop loss, you have the entry price, and then you have a profit objective, which is typically 1.5 to 1 times your stop. Let me get rid of this line to avoid confusion, right? So if your stop is 100 points, your profit objective is going to be 150 points. It projects all of that automatically so that you know where you should be getting out, okay, whether you're right or whether you're wrong. Now, the important thing to understand about the Trade Scanner Pro, it is not a forecasting tool. It is a confirmation tool, which means many of these signals that come about can be random. Now, I have an idea to minimize that, but if we do this filter that I'm thinking about, it's going to really reduce lots of trades. Like lots of trades are not going to happen because it's going to filter out a lot of stuff. And there's some good trades are going to be filtered out as well. But people want forecasting. That's what's going to have to happen. But anyway, right now, you come with the idea and you use this to confirm the idea and give you your exit points. So you don't take a signal for the sake of taking a signal. You do not do that because it can be random, right? And random doesn't help. So what makes the Trade Scanner Pro script special is when there are situations where you may want to capture this movement, and that's the counter trend movement, right? It ignores the trend and it will then call a trade based on this, right? Based on this, the turning point when the momentum changes. So there are times when that can be very helpful, and that is a little more advanced. Now, that's basically how the Trade Scanner Pro works. So I'm going to turn it on over here. And what I want to show you here is this panel really quick. This right here is the settings panel that you get as soon as you sign up for the Trade Scanner Pro. It's all blank. Notice all the boxes are blank. They're empty. There's a lot of customization available for this thing, right? You can change colors for all kinds of stuff. You don't have to. That's for more advanced users who want to have specific colors for things. But we put the flexibility in there. You can change the speed of the trailing stop and all kinds of stuff. But You don't have to. I don't recommend messing with those settings, especially if you're new. But when you first get the Trade Scanner Pro, you want to turn the trailing stop on, right? You want to show previous trades, and you want to turn on heads up, okay? And then this right here, this box here is the counter trend box. This is what you'll be turning on and off based on your trade idea, okay? So you have to come up with the trade idea to decide if you're going to use counter trend or not. And then show trend just shows you the trend box at the top. It turns it on and off. So you just want to leave that on, okay? So when you have all these settings turned on, if you notice, we go back here a bit, right? As I go back on this chart, you'll notice these columns. Oh, what's this? So these highlight these orange bars, right? The orange bars are what's called heads up. Heads up lets you know that a signal is likely to appear in the next 3 to 5 candles of this time frame. These green arrows here are previous signals that are closed. So if you roll over it, for example, this was a loss of, let's see, what does it say here? 1,200 points. Wow. This stopped out for 1,200 points, but that's what you're going to get on an hourly chart. Okay. How about this one? This is probably a loss too over here. What is this? Another 1,200 point loss. Yeah. That's an hourly chart, especially with this type of these ranges that we're getting, right? Do I have any winners? Let's see. Let's look back. I don't see any. Let's look back here. Nothing on the hourly. Oh, there's something back here. Let's see what this one says. Profit, 954 points. Okay. Now, understand something. The profit and loss is calculated on the price objective, not the trailing stop. So, for example, if this trade, if you manage to hold on to this because it never went to its price objective or whatever, right? Because you use the trailing stop and you captured a larger move, then that's where you can have a situation where you make a lot more than the price objective. Okay, does that make sense? So that's how it works, like in a nutshell, right? So let's now go back here. All right, so that's the basic idea. So now the question is, how do you find a trade, right? How do you use this? Because I just talked about you want to wait for certain setups and blah, blah, blah. It's a confirmation tool. How do you do that? The way you do that is you have to come to the market with an idea. Okay, now hold on a second. I gotta fix my mouse here. Just 1 second. All right, I'm just adjusting my mouse. But while I do that, I will explain. So coming up with an idea, basically, you have to know a few things in advance before you look for a trade. This is very important. Now, you can use the Trade Scanner Pro for investing. You can use it for swing trades. And for the beginner, that's what I would recommend you do. You can also set up notifications from TradingView. And it will tell you when a heads up appears, it will tell you when the signal appears, and it will tell you when a stop is reached, whether it's a trailing stop or the stop out or the profit objective, whatever it is, it'll tell you those things. And you can receive an email. You tell TradingView how you want to receive the message, right? You can do all that very easily. That, though, requires the paid version if you want to have multiple notifications. You can set up one notification. Like if we set up, the hourly here, we could set up the hourly notification and you can only have one on the free version of TradingView. But what if you want to watch other markets and you want to set up other notifications, right? You'd have to have a paid version of TradingView for that. And that's why we have the link in the description for that. Okay. But it's not a requirement to use this. Now, the great thing about setting up a notification is you don't want to sit in front of your computer. You set up the notification and you walk away. You have your plan. And now you're going to let the market confirm before you do anything, right? That's the easiest way to use this, in my opinion. Now, so let me show you real quick. Let me show you, right, the notifications. You just go over here. And this is where you set it up on TradingView. Okay, you basically you pick this, right, the Trade Scanner Pro, and then you just set up how you want to receive notifications. And you have all these choices. Okay, so that's how you do that. Now, from there, you still have to come up with an idea, and it's very important to decide before you come up with the idea what you want to do. Do you want to day trade, or do you want to swing trade, or do you want to invest? That's going to shape what time frames you use. It's very important, right? Do you want to day trade, or do you want to swing trade? So for this example, like I do each week, I'm going to day trade. I know this in advance. Before I even look at a chart, I know I'm looking for a day trade. Now, that means I know what time frames I'm going to look at. I'm going to use the hourly, and I'm going to use the 1 minute chart, okay, for day trades. Now, I'm going to turn the Trade Scanner Pro on over here on my 1 minute because I've made this decision in advance. Now, as a day trader, I need context. Context is what's going to help me come up with a trade idea that makes sense with the market. I want to align with the bigger picture. So you see, I have two charts. My left-hand chart is my context chart. It's where the idea comes from. My right-hand chart over here, this is where the action happens. This is where I'm going to take the trade. This is where my risk and my reward are defined on this time frame. Okay. Now, so it's very important to understand this. The idea is coming from the bigger picture. So I'm trying to align my smaller picture with the bigger picture. That is what I'm trying to do here. And that is what's going to determine whether I should be in trend mode or counter trend mode. Remember before I talked about counter trend mode? That is where you have to make this choice. What choice do I want, right? Trend mode or counter trend mode. So let's see how we can come up with that decision. I know my general trend is bullish. I don't even need to look back at that. I know it's generally bullish. Next thing is we have our levels from before, right? Now, here's the thing. So right now, we're fooling around like a 1 hour, it looks like a 1 hour resistance, right? 1 hour, see that 1 hour resistance? That's a tricky area. Now, because the general trend is bullish and because I don't have we're not near like one of these more significant resistances, right? I'm not going to go into counter trend mode. I'm going to go into trend mode. Which is the standard setting. It's automatically in trend mode, right? If I go to my settings here, right? I go to my settings. I have to turn them all on over here, right? Counter trend mode is checked off. It's off. So, oh, look, there was a trade here previously. For how much? 540 points on a 1 minute chart. That's nuts. That's a lot for a 1 minute chart. So I'm interested in trend mode. All right. And I'm trying to align with this bigger picture. Now, if I was at a support level on this hourly, or if I was pushing at this resistance and I was interested in the reversal, that's when I would be in counter trend mode. Does that make sense? So it's safe to say that if you're going to be in counter trend mode, you want to do it at support or resistance levels. Because think about this for a moment. If the market pulls back into this support, my 1 minute trend is going to be bearish. My 1 hour trend will probably still be bullish, but my 1 minute will be bearish. In order for me to look for longs at a support while my 1 minute is bearish, I need to be in counter trend mode so that it will look for longs and not shorts. Does that make sense? Right now, this thing's looking for longs. One way I could know is this column here is green, right? When you have red columns, that means it's looking for shorts. Green columns means it's looking for longs, and that's a reflection of the mode that it's in. All right. Now, I have this situation. We're fooling around sort of a minor resistance, like I said, but it's minor, and I'm not going to use that as a factor, right? I want to go long, but I have no signal. So you have a couple of options at this point. You wait for a signal. Now, how long has it been since we've gotten a signal? Let's see, from here to here, right? How many bars is that? 17 bars. So that's about 17 minutes. So you figure about 20 minutes. It's been 20 minutes since a signal, right? The most recent signal on this time frame was 20 minutes ago. Before that, though, to get a signal, and the trend changed on the 1 minute. The 1 minute trend changes all the time. What is this here? 47 minutes. So I would have to sit here and wait 47 minutes. Or I could set up a notification and wait for TradingView to send me a notification, right? Those are my choices. I can wait for the next pullback and get a notification. Or if I want to be really advanced and really aggressive, I can go to a smaller time frame. Now, I'm on a 1 minute chart here. I can go to a 15-second chart. Now, I do this all the time. I don't recommend this for beginners. I do this just to demonstrate how the script works. But in reality, this is not a good idea because it's very noisy. And while I've shown some great trades on this time frame, it also can stop out just as much. I mean, look at these trades here, right? This one was worth, what is that? 293. Again, this is a 15-second chart. These are not the typical numbers. 204 minus, 217 minus. So not exactly what we want to see. Also, you notice at this bottom over here, excuse me, where that 1 minute signal was called, you notice there's no signal here. I would probably have to go to a smaller time frame than that. So I'd have to go like a 5 second just to see it. Right? Is it there? Let's see. Oh, look at this. No. This was bearish at the time. Again, this is 5 seconds. Not a practical chart you're going to use, right? The trend changed in this process, and right, you get this little green thing going on over here, which a recent signal went off on 5 seconds. Don't want to use that chart. Okay? But I'm just pointing out you can get very granular with this. I'm only interested in aligning with this. Okay? On the hourly. That's the key thing. Don't get thrown off by the smaller time frame. You want to align with the bigger time frame. That's where we get our bias from. All right, so now let's see here. I got nothing to do at this moment because we're not getting pullbacks. This is the 30-second chart. I'll go back to the 15-second. That's typically that's as low as I'll go with this, right? And even then on the 15-second, I mean, look how long this has been. There's been no signal for 133 bars. So you multiply that by whatever, you do the math by the 15-minute time frame, 15-second time frame. I don't know how many minutes that is. But so it's been a little while. What time was that back there? 15:39 and it's 16:13. So that's like 30 minutes, something like that, right? 30 minutes. All right, no problem. Let's wait here a few minutes and see if we could find something on the 15-second chart. Usually, trades are more frequent, but they're also more noisy. All right. So the point of this is to show you how to come up with an idea. I'm interested in being long because I'm interested in the trend of this time frame. Okay. If we were at a resistance, I would be interested in counter trend. But you can argue, right? You can argue and say, well, there's some resistance here. You can argue that, but Bitcoin has been so strong. Remember what I said before earlier in the stream? Supports are likely to hold. Resistances are likely to break. Remember that? So I'm going with that. And if I want to work on the side of the probability, I should probably work on the long side. And if I'm going to go counter trend, if I'm going to go bearish, if I'm going to try to take a short, then there needs to be a very compelling reason. So either I need like a heavy duty resistance that's shown a previous reaction, like a dramatic reaction before, which we're not at, okay, or something like that, right? I don't have anything like that. Or the trend has to change on the bigger picture. I don't have anything like that. So I'm going to work on the long side, right? Because I want to work on the side of the probability. That's very important. Do not take trades for the sake of taking trades. Do not take signals for the sake of taking a signal. Now, like for example, if I put this into counter trend mode, right, there may be a signal here. Let's see. Is there anything? Look at this. Signals, look, signals all over the place. Counter trend. Okay. And all of them were wrong. So you don't want to get caught in that, right? That's what I mean. So it's very important that you come to this with the right idea first. And then you're aligning yourself. If you're going to go counter trend, it needs to be in an area that makes sense. Now, like I said, right now, you have to come to the table with that idea. But I do want to work on something where it'll be more automatic, where you can just follow the signal. But signals are going to be much more rare, if we employ that type of filter. Okay. Like when we put this thing together originally, I wanted it to be very flexible. But beginners don't do well with that. All right. They need everything done for them. So, when you're trying to develop software, it's important that you build something that people want. All right. So anyway, I mean, this is a great tool for me, but I have a lot of experience, so I know how to work with it. I can't translate over 2 decades of experience in, an hour, or even a few streams. Like it takes a while to understand or to actually be able to employ what I say. So anyway, right now what we're going to do is we're going to wait for the pullback and then I'm going to go long. That's the plan. So the Trade Scanner Pro needs to confirm a long for me. I'm on the 15-second chart here, which means we're going to have to pull back like a little bit, maybe, a couple hundred points at this rate for us to get a signal. I mean, look at these pullbacks. And there was no signal there on the 15-second. Those are decent little pullbacks, and I'm getting nothing. Man, I may have to go to the 5-second. Let's see. I really don't want to do this, but that's where we're going to get signals. This is our most recent 5-second signal. I may have to do it. See, we're getting warnings. See that? So, all right, I may have to, just for demonstration purposes, otherwise we may be here for like hours. So I may have to do it. Let's see. Is this trade 88? Oh, minus 88 pips. Interesting. Oh, because it actually got long up here. That's why. All right, so we'll probably get something on this. We'll probably get like a signal here. There's our heads up. I'm going to turn this on over here so we can see the trade example. I like to do this in real time, again, because I can't make this up. I see a lot of guys on YouTube, what they do is they show you trades after the fact. They say, well, I took this trade over here, and look, it was a winner, right? And they show you after. I want to show you as the price action develops. I do this every week, right? And people see it, but I guess people just don't understand it. So I'm going to show you when we get the signal. I'm going to take it. This is like a decent little pullback. Let me. If I can avoid the 5-second chart, I will. This is a 15-second chart. All right, this is a decent pullback. I'm going to avoid the 5-second chart, and I'll take the 15-second because the 5-second chart is just absolute noise. I mean, look at this here. This was a signal, it looks like, right? And that was a loss of 90 pips. So you got to be careful, right? You have to be careful. And that's why it's important what time frame you choose. Let me take a look at the 1 minute, right? Is the 1 minute anything developing on the 1 minute? Not really. There's no warning there. There's nothing. There's no heads up. But that's a nice pullback for the 1 minute. And this is really the ideal time frame that I would prefer to take the signal compared to the smaller time frames. By the way, in order to get a 15-second chart, you have to have the most expensive version of TradingView, which a lot of people may not have. Okay, so we got a bunch of heads up there. A signal is likely to appear very soon. I'm going to take 2 contracts once it appears, right? It requires the candle to close. So on the close of the candle, it'll pop up. Watch. Maybe the next candle. So the heads up tells me that a signal is near. You don't take, it's not a good idea to jump in early on the heads up. I mean, I've shown examples of that, but it's usually not a good idea. There's a signal. All right. So I just bought 2 contracts, right, in the perpetual futures. Now look at this for a moment. This is a 15-second chart, which things can change here very quickly. To 82 points of risk, okay? And my profit objective is going to be 1.5 times that. It's 125 points. You see that? This is all on the 15-second chart. Now, I have the trailing stop activated, which means if this trade holds up over time, you'll see the trailing stop appear and it'll start to follow the trade. And that's what helps keep me in big trades if a big trade is going to develop. One nice thing about the Trade Scanner Pro is it embraces the random nature of the market, right? Because I don't know if there's going to be a big trade here. This thing may run 2,000 points. Who knows? This thing may run only 300 points. It may run only 150 points. I don't know. But the point is, if it's going to be a big move, the trailing stop will keep me in for more than I would normally capture. If you look at the week before, I took a trade similar to this, right, on the 15-second chart, and it ran like 400 points. Okay, and there was some red candles in between, but I managed to hold on to the whole thing, right, for 400 points because of the trailing stop. So again, the trailing stop takes a few minutes to come out because, again, it requires a bunch of closes, right? And you'll see it appear. Now, the trailing stop also helps me reduce risk when it appears, because the more time the market spends up here, right, and the trailing stop begins to appear, it's cutting my risk. Okay, so look, again, this is a 15-second chart. This is going to happen. I may have to blow. If it goes to the stop, I'm blowing it out. All right, I got another heads up to go along there. But again, that doesn't mean anything. When I'm in a trade, it doesn't mean anything. So I'm not reacting. It either goes to the stop and then I'll get out, or it doesn't go to the stop. Let's see. Now, my trailing stop never even had time to come out yet. Okay, so this is probably going to tap me out. All right, wow, look at that. Out. That's what happens. Okay. So I'm getting heads up to go long again. Let's see the next one. And also I like to check my 1 minute. Am I getting anything on the 1 minute? No, there's nothing there, but just some selling. Okay, no problem. This resistance looks like that resistance is somewhat meaningful. We can tell that now. But all right, I'm still interested in the long side though, right? Because this is not a bearish situation yet. So let's go back. I'm getting a warning on the 1 minute. Was getting a warning. I'd prefer to take it on the 1 minute, but let's go back to our 15-second. All right, so we're probably going to get another signal here. I'll try it again. This is a good simulation because this is what's going to happen, especially when you're dealing with very small time frames. Now, to avoid this kind of nonsense and all this noise, this is why I recommend a 15-minute chart and just using the notifications. Okay, that's usually a much better choice. So, especially for beginners, because you don't have to get caught up in all this noise. All right, so I'm waiting for signal. Got some heads up. I need a bullish. There it is. All right, I'm buying it again. 2 contracts. Let's see if this thing has any room here now. Again, I'm using a 15-second chart. There's a lot of noise here. It can easily, tap out. So I'll give this one more try. If this one doesn't work, then we're going to have to wait for some more stability, right? That's naturally what I would do. So let's see. What's my risk here? 82 points. And, for a 15-second chart, that's kind of a lot. But again, we're dealing with a wild market. All right, so let's see if this thing can do something positive this time. And yeah, I'm set up right here. I got my trailing stop on and all that stuff. All right. Now, what I don't like about this situation, even though I'm getting like the heads up and all that stuff, what I don't like about this is I don't like the counter structure, right? I got a lower high, right? Lower low, lower high, no lower low yet, but we may get another lower low. So the structure means something. It does mean something, right? And if this doesn't work, if this breaks, right, and I have to get out, then the right thing to do would be to wait until the structure changes, meaning we break one of these highs, right? And then at least I know that the structure is turning around and I'm getting back on the side of the bigger picture trend. Remember, I'm trying to align with the bigger picture trend. That is all I'm interested in. Because you can argue that this is a bearish trend. And technically, it is a mini bearish trend, right? You have a low, lower high, lower low, right? That's bearish. But it doesn't carry much weight in the eyes of the bigger picture. This can be a very confusing concept, but the bigger picture always carries more weight. So it's very easy to get confused by a situation like this. I mean, oh, it's bearish. This thing is going to pull back, and then you start getting opinionated, and you think it's going to pull back 10,000 points. And meanwhile, it's just a blip. This on a 15-second chart, this is nothing. Unlike on the hourly chart, this is a blip. In fact, let's look at it on an hourly chart. On an hourly chart, it's just a tail, right? It's not even a red candle, so it's meaningless. And you have to realize that, right? You have to be able to weight that in your mind. Okay, so let's see if this reaches at least its profit objective. If it can, I will unload one contract there. And there's, look, my trailing stop. Look, it's beginning to appear. See that? The trailing stop? It's an orange color. And as you can see, as we get some candle closes here, the trailing stop will begin to rise. Now, I can change the speed of the trailing stop. I'm not going to do that. But see, the trailing stop just reduced my risk a little bit. My original risk was 88 points? What was that? 81 points. Notice my trailing stop now has reduced it to 58 points. I mean, it's not a big reduction, but it's a reduction. And that reduction means a lot over time. Okay, now look, it's cut my risk almost in half. Now, if I get stopped out here, you'd be like, oh, it's still a loss. It sucks. Well, but I lost 50% less of what I was going to lose, right? And over time, that savings adds up. You have to realize that, right? Over 1,000 trades, that adds up. So let's see. Hopefully this thing stays stable. But again, I'm on a 15-second chart here, so not very likely. We'll see. The trailing stop may even break even. Maybe get me up to break even or something like that, which is possible. I'll take a break even if I have to. All right, but you see, what I'm demonstrating here is how the Trade Scanner Pro helps to manage your decision-making process. There we go. Like, I'm going to blow this thing out if it goes to that trailing stop. So I don't really have to think. Okay, out. It tells me what to do. I'm out. Look, it shook me out. All right, no problem. But I respect it, right? And that's what I get for working with a 15-second chart. Do I have anything on my 1 minute? Let's see. No 1 minute signal yet, but I sure would like to see a 1 minute signal. Okay, so, here's a 30 second. All right, I'll take that. 30-second chart. I'll take this. All right, so I just got back in. It's a little bit of a bad price, but look at the pin bar. This is a signal on the 30-second. And I had two choice. Basically, the signal came back here, right? That would have been my first entry. It tapped the entry again and popped off again. In those type of situations, typically, if I see that, I like to add. But in this case, I got stopped out of my 15-second, but I got back in based on this one. All right, I'll take it. It's a little aggressive, but I'll take it. You can also see on this one the trailing stop again, trying to do its job. So let's see now if this thing can get its act together. Now, understand that this time of day is not exactly the best time of day to be taking day trades on Bitcoin. Right? The stock market's closed. Usually you get a lot of noise and a lot of, just trades that go nowhere type of thing, or you get this type of situation where it's stopping out constantly. Time of day is something you have to deal with. This was the stock market close, and there was like this move, and now it's just consolidating a bit. What are you going to do? So I hope things have been good since we won the election night. Oh, hey, I remember you, Jacob. How are you? Yes, thanks for stopping by. Sure. Yeah, Jacob. I was over at, so people don't know what he's talking about. on election night, Valuetainment had their watch party, and I went there, and I met Jacob, and I also met this other guy, Andres, and it was a good time, man. I had a great time with you guys, and we got to watch the election play-by-play. Pretty much, it was pretty amazing. I met these guys. I met Jacob and Andres at the hotel bar. I just walked up to them, and we just got along. It was really cool. Thanks for stopping by, Jacob. It's good to see you. By the way, I usually stream like usually I'm on the camera, but I changed my location, so my camera situation is a little bit messed up right now. But next week I'll be on the camera. But all right, cool. Yeah, it was a good time over there, man. It was a good time, and I really, really enjoyed meeting you guys. All right. Jacob, I never got your email. Like if you want to like send me an email, Mark at Mark P Markets, or you could send me a thing on what do you call it? LinkedIn. I have to, Jacob, what's his name? The other guy, Andre has sent me the thing on LinkedIn. I haven't accepted it yet because I just haven't been on there. But yeah, let's keep in touch, man. I'm really glad you came by. Tell you, Jacob is a smart guy. He told me some things, man. I was just like, wow. Yeah, that was a good time. So, all right. So we're watching this thing. See, while Jacob was talking to me here, the market decides to be nice to me again. Thanks, Jacob, for stopping by, because look, you turned Bitcoin around for me. Look at that. Now we have a nice example here. Oh, look at that. So it's the profit objective. See that? See, Jacob brings good things. All right. So I'm going to sell one here because we're pretty much at the profit objective. Now, this stupid thing almost, was not looking good there for a moment, right? Here, now watch this. I'm going to blow this out. Let's go to the green. Okay, so I blew one out. Jacob, by the way, was nice enough to drive us to the event. That was really cool. All right. So here's this situation, right? Now, again, notice the trade scanner kept me in during this. I may have banged it out in this situation because I may have been like, oh, it looks bad, right? But we weren't at any of the stops. We weren't at the main stop. We weren't at the trailing stop. So no reason for me to do anything, right? We made it to the profit objective. Beautiful. Randomly, I exited one, and now we're going to let the other one ride. And either the price is going to go to the trailing stop and take me out there, or I get out there, or the price continues. So again, the beauty of this is letting the Trade Scanner Pro manage my decisions for me. I don't have to think anymore. Okay? I don't have to think here. Either we go here and I get out, okay, or we continue higher. And this is, again, where the trailing stop can really be very helpful, because if Bitcoin wants to do something stupid, which it's been, as you can see, this thing's moving 2,000 or 3,000 points in a matter of hours. If it wants to do something wild like that, the trailing stop, there's a better chance of me capturing a greater move than I normally would have. Okay, so while we are waiting for this outcome here, and Jacob said hello, it was really nice to see him. I want to point something out to you guys. I don't have my site up here. I usually have my website up, but I'm going to put the link in the description. I'm going to put the link here in the channel. So, all right, hold on here. Let me just put this. All right. So I'm going to type it in. All right. This is bit.ly.tsc. Now, if you're interested in the Trade Scanner Pro, the 14-day free trial, this is where you would go, to that link. In fact, I'm going to put it up here on the thing, right? So you can go here and you can sign up for 14 days free. I don't have the website up right now, but you can go to it. The link is also in the description. Now, let me explain a couple of things about this real quick. when you click on the subscribe button, right, you scroll onto the bottom of the page, you click on the subscribe button, it takes you to a form. And on that form is where you have to put your TradingView username. If you do not do this properly, you will not get an invite. If you do this properly, meaning you put your correct name in there, within 30 minutes to 1 hour, you will receive an invite on TradingView. And then from there, you just put the script on your chart and you're all set to go, right? So I mentioned that because it's amazing to me. People, they don't get that part right. And if you don't get that part right, I don't know how you're going to use this script. The market is a million times harder than that, right? So you put your username in, you receive the invite. Now, you can pay yearly or you can do the monthly, right? Yearly is $270. You have a 14-day trial. So after the 14 days, it's $270, or you can do $30 a month. The yearly, you're saving 25%. Now, I'm going to say one thing. Steen right now is working on the overlays, okay? And when we have the overlays done, hopefully soon, we're going to change the prices. The overlays are going to basically allow support and resistance. They're going to be automatically drawn on the chart. And then we have the overlay where you're going to be able to track multiple instruments at the same time and see what's going on across many markets, not just one. So you don't have to jump from chart to chart. You can actually track across multiple time frames. So that's all coming. And when we have all that set up, then I'm going to change the price. But right now, you can still get these good prices while this thing is stopping out at break even over here. All right. Hey, but that's now I locked in profit on one, and this is what happens. All right, no problem. Oh, wait, kept me in. All right, let's let the stop out. So that's how you can get the Trade Scanner Pro. It's 14 days. It's free. You can cancel anytime. I suggest if you're a beginner to work with this on a 15-minute time frame and go back, watch this video. I have another video on YouTube, the 5 steps to better signals or whatever, and it gives you a step-by-step process, sort of like I explained here. It's just a little more focused, and follow those steps to use the Trade Scanner Pro. This tool is not for beginners, right? So I'm going to be honest with you. It helps if you have some experience. I have a lot of experience. So when we developed the tool, I developed it for me, and it works okay for me, but I know how it works exactly. And I know how to come to the market with an idea, right? So for a beginner, it's going to be a little harder to do. I suggest you trade on paper and you work on the 15-minute chart and use like an hourly or a 4-hour chart to come up with your idea, and then use this, right? Align your idea with the bigger picture and then give it a try. If you're at a support or a resistance level, consider the counter trend mode. All right. I'm going to blow this thing out here once it goes to the, now on this contract. So I'm basically losing a tiny amount, right? Or basically breaking even, but I took a profit on that other one. So net, the trade is bullish, right? I mean, the trade is positive. All right. So I got out. Hey, the market sucks. What am I going to do? But at least I was able to get out of something for a profit, right? It's nice when you get a runner, but no runner. But I think it's a nice range of examples here. We're back at the support, by the way. If another signal appears, I got a heads up over here. It may be worth taking again for another long. I'm really against working on the short side on something that's just been so strong, because people are just anxious to buy this thing. Yeah, sure, it's going to sell off at some point, but this is not, this is hardly bearish. This is not real bearish price action. It's just noise. All right, so it's important to understand that. All right, do I have any questions? Any questions about anything? I don't see any questions. I've been talking for almost 90 minutes here. Any questions? If I get another signal, I'll try one more if I get the signal. When I start talking, I can't stop talking. There was a heads up there, but it went away. Sometimes, the criteria isn't fully met, so it goes away. That's going to happen. But again, I'm on a 30-second chart here. Well, Jacob, I haven't seen that specific BKKT. I haven't seen that one. We can pull that up real quick. Go to my other chart. But these things went nuts. I mean, everything went nuts. What is this? Yeah. Oh, man. This thing, Joe, wow, this thing is like, that's the hourly. Let's go to the daily. Wow. Wow. That's a nice move. Yeah. Look at that. Thanks for bringing that one up. This thing just went nuts today. Look at that. Yesterday's high was 1297 and we're at 3376. Oh, interesting. Rumors that Elon and Trump may buy this thing. That's buy the rumor, sell the news. I definitely wouldn't be buying it now. Oh, look, we got another signal on Bitcoin. All right, I'm going to try it. I'm going to go for it. All right, just bought 2. Let's see what happens. See, now it's nice. That's why I buy more than one, by the way, because you have an opportunity to sell one, hopefully, and then let the other one ride. Now, this BKKT, thanks for bringing that up. In a situation like this, what do? If you buy this now, right, you're taking the most risk. Yeah, it might go further, but there's like a 50% chance that it may pull back just as well, right? Especially if it's just a rumor. So if you're not in, go small at least, because chances of this thing pulling back, this is like an AMC situation, right? Wow, it's a nice move though. It's nice when you know about these things in advance. Puts. Oh, you're thinking about buying puts? It's not a bad idea. But you're going to have to buy some time, obviously. Yeah. Nice. Thanks for bringing that up. Man. Okay. A lot of wild stuff going on here. A lot of wildness all over the place. Yeah. I like that. All right. Let's go. I'm going to get my Bitcoin back on here. Man, that signal is not doing very well. I tried, but no go. This is a 30-second chart, by the way. All right. So I'm just curious what the 1 minute looks like. I see the 1 minute, there's nothing there. All right. I'm going to have to blow that out. There's nothing there on the 1 minute. Oh, it's not. It's right at the stop. Got to respect the stops, especially in these situations, because if this thing breaks, right, and we take out this hourly low on Bitcoin, this thing can pull back 2,000 points, right? Do I want to get caught in that? No. I don't mind losing 89 points, 80 points. Okay, it's going to happen. But 2,000 points, I mind. You can't trade, especially if you have like, a futures contract, which represents one coin. That's a $4,000 loss if you get caught in 2,000 point move with 2 coins. So you respect the stop losses. Very important. Okay, cool. All right, you guys. So I don't see any other questions. So I don't have the greatest examples today, but hey, that's the market, man. And that's what we're going to be dealing with. So you want to get involved in these things when, for one, better time of day. I always tell you every week that between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock is usually not the best time. And I've picked up some decent trades at this time, but it's typically not the best time, right? So we're going to have days like this at this time. First. Second, you don't want to be doing this on sub 1 minute charts. I'm just trying to show this for example purposes so if we can catch like a nice move so you can see what it looks like when the script is in action. Right. But typically you want to be working with 5 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute, and you want to use your notifications from TradingView to get your signal instead of sitting here in front of a chart like I'm doing, interpreting, this thing tick by tick. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So yeah. All right. So I'm going to wrap this up here in a minute. I don't see any questions. Again, check out the link that I have up there, right? If you want to sign up for a 14-day free trial. And if you have any other questions, you can send me a message on TradingView here. You can also send me an email, mark@markpremarkets.com. I've just been, with this move, it's been very, very hectic, but I'll be getting, back onto more of like a more normal schedule. Let me know if you have questions about this. Also, if you need help, you need support, we have a Discord community. Steen is in there. If you have a support channel, like if something's not working right or you're not getting your invite or whatever, you can go there, and usually he responds pretty quickly there as well. All right. One other thing I want to add is if you get a message from me, someone that looks like me on Twitter, on Discord, on whatever, or you get Steen or you get Alex, and we're asking you for money, it's usually a scammer. Okay. So I just want to make you aware, we do not initiate messages asking you for money, and we don't send you to other websites besides Market Signals Pro. All right, but you would not get a message from one of us anyway saying, hey, man, why don't you just go to a website and buy this thing? We just don't do that. All right, so you send a message to us, we respond, but we do not initiate messages. So please, if you get a message, block the person. Also report the person to the community or to the whatever platform it's on so that they get banned, because I don't like my followers getting scammed. All right. Okay, cool. So interesting how, look, this 1 hour Bitcoin candle here is a bearish pin bar now, interestingly enough, right? And this resistance obviously stuck. I considered it minor earlier, but hey, it's stuck. What am I going to do? So the next support, by the way, I mean, you can argue that there's some over here around 90, 985, something like that. That might be a place to look for longs, and then you have like these lows over here, right? That range low right there. Those are the places. So anyway, that's how it turned out today. All right, guys. So I don't see any other questions. You guys know where to find me. Jacob, it was good seeing you. Again, thanks for stopping by, and we'll be in touch by email and stuff. And we'll go from there. All right. So everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you very much for watching.